Hey everyone, Chen here bringing you guys another video. Today we are going to finally go over the upcoming Akshan nerfs that are obviously introduced. Now, Riot's hitting us with a little bit of a curveball, aren't they? As we all are very familiar, the patch notes that is posted by an official Rioter, Riot Floxron, is extremely accurate, and generally it doesn't really differ from what he actually posts, but Riot thought it'd be a good idea to double nerf Akshan, which in this video I'm going to talk about. So basically this video I'm going to talk about how it's going to look like for 13.20 per Akshan and what these nerfs are going to actually do to our favorite guy. And yeah, without further ado, let's get straight into the video. We're going to start off with what was initially given, which I already did a video of this, but since they added a nerf, I have to redo it. But in that original video, I said that the Q nerf, bonus movement speed, is generally not really even a nerf. Like, you really will not feel it. Yes, it will affect some trade patterns. Yes, it will affect your laning phase, but more or less, like, in terms of actual nerfing Akshan, this really wasn't a hit, in my opinion, and as Akshan mains, we will gladly take this, right? I saw a lot of people complaining about this change, being like, oh, you're gonna lose so much damage because, you know, you can't get as many autos off, stuff like that. Although that is true, I'm of the opinion that if you position well, that's just not true, right? If you position well, and that's like something that's like an innate thing that you can do differently and every single trading pattern, then it's really just not that large of a nerf, and it's something you can play around, right? Akshan is in need of nerfs, so taking a slap on the wrist like this was perfectly fine. However, Riot has surprised us. Christmas came a little bit early, and they hit us with a double nerf, which is laughable, hilarious, and Riot needs to go to hell. Anyways, as you can see here, this is currently PvE. I hope maybe there is a chance it changes, but currently, as it states, and this has been confirmed on Freak's dive down of his patch notes, that Akshan E is getting nerfed. So, I did test it in PvE. It is true. Akshan E has lost base damage 5 across all ranks. So what does this mean? Well, Akshan E isn't like an ability like most. Akshan E has the up chance of hitting up to, let's say, I think max is potentially 10, depending on if the enemy is following to your swing angle. 10 times 5 is 50 damage, guys. 50 damage, right? Now, obviously, that's very optimistic. Generally speaking, I say on average, you're probably going to get 5 shots. That's a fairly good average. The upwards spiral of average, probably 5 to 7, right? I think those are like really, really good swings that you can get, and then obviously really bad swings are like 3. And even at 3, you're losing 15 damage. That is absurd amount of damage lost. You will not see this on any other champion, where if Riot does a nerf to a champion and they do like, they take maybe like 10 damage away, or, you know, stuff like that, like, that's just 10 damage, flats, right? There is no situation where it's like, oh, it could be 10 damage, it could be 20, 30, 40, 50. With Akshan, it's all situation, depending on how good you are as a player to maximize the amount of times you swing. So, with that being said, what do I think about this? Well, obviously I'm not very happy about this change. I think it's way too far. If you're gonna nerf anything about his E, do like 2 damage. You cannot nerf it by 5. That is literally in early game, by the way, just to put some preference. That is upwards of maybe 100 total damage you'll be missing in laning phase. That's a lot. That is absurd. That is the difference between a kill and not a kill. Which sucks, right? So, obviously, I think this is way too far. I think, first and foremost, the Q movement speed, yes, I am of the opinion that it was a slap in the wrist. Yes, it was very, very low, and we're obviously happy to take this. But, you know, if you're going to nerf any damage on Akshan, do his Q, right? His Q is only 2 instances of damage instead of Akshan's E, which could be upwards of 5 to 10, right? 5 damage is absurd, guys. So, with that being said, how is Akshan going to look like next patch with this Q nerf and this E nerf? Well, First and foremost, I can guarantee you he is not going to be strong anymore. That is just point blank simple. Akshan as a champion only has damage, really. So when Riot literally kneecaps him on his main ability, he is no longer going to be dishing out as much damage. You are going to find yourself missing solo kills, a ton of solo kills. You're going to find yourself missing damage in the mid late game. Remember, this is 5 damage across all ranks, so every single swing net, you are going to be doing less damage. You're going to miss kills, you're going to miss opportunities for kills, you're going to miss just a bunch of snowball opportunities, and that is not good because as we scroll down, and I do want to talk about it in this video, there are a lot of snowball adjustments that are also going to basically be a nerf to Akshan. So first and foremost, let's read all of these first. I'm not going to touch on like jungle. I'm only going to touch on things that actually affect Akshan, right? So let me see. It's Lord Dominant. That doesn't really care. You don't really care. You're still going to build it if there are a bunch of tanks, but it really starts over here. So Death Timers is getting nerfed, or yeah, it's getting basically reduced, which is a buff for, which is basically a nerf for anti-snowballing, right? Because you are going to be up more, it's going to be harder to snowball, you're going to lose less, stuff like that. This is also technically a nerf on Akshan because it makes it so his res is less useful, right? Because you're going to shave less seconds off already when everyone is going to be respawning at a lesser time. That's a nerf. Does that matter for Akshan? Not really. 1 out of 100 games, maybe this will actually make a difference, but generally speaking, I highly doubt this actually matters. Still, it is a nerf to Akshan. Turret plates. Now this is actually interesting. I'm in between whether this is a nerf or a buff for Akshan, just because, especially in mid lane, I think this is potentially a buff because Akshan doesn't really play for plates. He much rather prioritize for roams. Generally speaking, at least for my games and GM Challenger, I'm gonna get on average about 1 plate each game, so I am losing 50 damage. But you have to think about, or 50 gold, but you have to think about the enemy and how many plates they get. Generally speaking, and higher MMRs, they're gonna fucking shred your turrets. They're gonna get 3, potentially even 4, while you get 1, right? Because you're gonna be busy roaming. That's a part of Akshan mid, right? So, in my opinion, I think mid lane, if anything, it's a net neutral, but it could be seen as a buff as well, depending on how much you actually roam. In the top lane, though, good luck, have fun. If you watch Jutsu, watch Migung, watch any Akshan top main, they are shredding tower plates and they are just losing gold, which is very unfortunate. So once again, another Akshan nerf. Now we're going to talk about runes, which is the last part that actually affects Akshan. I'm not going to go too deep into it and pretend I actually know what any of these mean. I really don't. Fleet Footwork Heal, it's increasing base, but it's decreasing based on scaling. Once again, I don't know how the map checks out. But I believe, from what I can tell, I believe all of these are generally just getting nerfed, at least for the early game. And maybe late game, they're just like net even or stuff like that. But once again, the whole premise of this section is anti-snowball. So I just presume these are just fundamentally weaker early game. Once again, a nerf to Akshan. PTA, this one's a straight up nerf, which I find very funny. 8 to 12, straight to 8. Once again, a nerf to Akshan. First strike, now 9 to 8, I'm of the opinion that with this massive PTA nerf and, just every single else I've said in this video, there's a chance first strike Akshan actually becomes a thing where you literally just play for like a weird rapid fire cannon build and you just farm gold and maybe you are viable that way. But generally speaking, fundamentally, mathematically, Akshan's losing a bunch of damage, Akshan's losing a bunch of snowball potential, and Akshan is kind of getting gutted. Do I think Akshan will still be viable? Yes. Akshan is a champion that still thrives on roams. He is a champion that still thrives on, chaotic games, chaotic skirmishing. Nothing of that changes. What do I think is actually going to happen to Akshan? I think, one, his crit builds are completely gutted. I think if you're building crits next patch, you are going to suffer because you will find yourself not having enough damage. I think the only way Akshan will be viable next patch is if you go on hit every single game. Now for me, I've personally been running on hit quite a bit recently. If you guys know anything about me, I've obviously been a crit enjoyer, crit enthusiast all my life, and Yeah, but with durability changes, stuff like that, Akshan's crit has been weakened, and with this is the nail of the coffin. To crit, I do not think you run it even when they have 5 squishies. You're going to run on hit every single game. Do I think Riot went overboard with these changes? Of course. They're fucking... I don't know, they're in their office smoking cocaine. My biggest issue with this is, well, if we scroll up, they're doing shit like buffing Ziggs. Right? Like, buffing Ziggs, and then literally one scroll down next, nerfing Akshan. It doesn't really make sense. Like, Ziggs doesn't need a buff. Akshan, yes, he needs a nerf, but if you're buffing Ziggs and you're nerfing Akshan, like, it's not really computing. So, Akshan is getting hit very, very hard, and Riot is just smoking stuff in their office. But anyways, my goal with this is I do think Akshan win rate is going to go down and probably plummet, maybe even below 50s, which is fine in my opinion because he's going to get, hopefully, rebuffed in the future. Maybe when his skin comes out, who knows? I mean, these are absolutely extreme nerfs. For now, what I would suggest to you guys is if you enjoy Akshan and you only play Akshan, maybe take a break. Or if you want to help with the cause, play games with Akshan, lose a bunch, and Akshan will finally get buffed again. But other than that, that is it for this video. Let me know down in the comments below what you guys think. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to smash the like button. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. Chen out.